Behind closed doors, a single DNA test just obliterated the entire foundation of one of digital media's highest-profile relationships. The fallout began when Dylan Wolf quietly executed a private paternity test without warning. The verified results didn't just cast doubt on the child's true identity. They triggered an immediate, cold withdrawal as Dylan completely cut contact and retreated into silence. But the absolute breaking point isn't just a quiet separation. Archived records, documented timelines, and past public declarations directly connect this fallout to country superstar Jelly Roll and his wife Bunnie XO. The hard evidence reveals a dangerous overlap in relationship timelines, raising direct, critical questions about what information was concealed from Jelly Roll from day one. Bunnie XO refuses to speak. Dylan has drawn a hard line in the sand, and the underlying records expose a level of calculated deception that changes everything. This isn't a story about misunderstandings. It is a breakdown of documented betrayals, unverified claims, and the undeniable timeline that forced Dylan Wolf to walk away for good. Here is the exact, unvarnished sequence of events. To fully grasp the magnitude of this fallout, you have to rewind to the moment this high-profile relationship first took center stage. On the surface, the dynamic between Dylan Wolf and Bunnie XO appeared entirely seamless. They presented an image of modern transparency, building a massive joint footprint through public appearances, collaborative projects, and shared milestones. They cultivated an aura of absolute trust, projecting a lifestyle where privacy was secondary to openness. For months, their shared narrative seemed unbreakable, positioning them as a power dynamic that navigated the cutthroat entertainment space with complete unity. However, beneath the polished exterior, structural cracks began forming long before any public rift became visible. The turning point arrived with the official announcement of the pregnancy. Initially, the news served as the ultimate peak of their shared timeline, a milestone celebrated as the beginning of a brand new chapter. But behind the scenes, the atmosphere shifted rapidly. Rather than bringing stability, the pregnancy introduced an immediate, suffocating aura of tension. Observers close to the situation noted subtle yet undeniable changes in behavior. Sudden physical distance during joint outings, abrupt changes in communication habits, and a distinct shift in how both parties addressed their personal future. While Bunnie XO continued to project stability to the outside world, Dylan Wolf was quietly processing a growing wave of internal suspicion. The warmth that once defined their interaction had vanished, replaced by calculated interactions and unanswered questions regarding specific dates. The math simply wasn't adding up. As weeks passed, the gap between their public narrative and private reality widened to a point of no return. Driven by an urgent need for definitive clarity, Dylan made a strategic, life-altering decision. He bypassed all conversation, avoided any direct confrontation, and privately ordered a discreet, legally binding paternity test. When the laboratory reports finally arrived, the outcome was an absolute hammer blow. The documentation didn't merely introduce minor doubts. It delivered a devastating blow to the core of the relationship. According to verified details surrounding the fallout, the test results strongly indicated that the child was never his. In an instant, months of shared history, emotional investment, and public declarations collapsed under the weight of a single piece of paper. The revelation exposed a calculated level of deceit that made reconciliation impossible. What followed was not an explosive public argument, but a cold, calculated withdrawal. Recognizing the legal and personal ramifications of the situation, Dylan executed a complete shutdown. He refused to participate in staged reconciliations, ceased all shared obligations, and systematically cut off direct communication. He didn't issue immediate emotional rants or attempt to control the narrative through hasty statements. Instead, he chose absolute silence as his primary shield. He drew an immovable boundary, opting to retreat entirely while his legal and personal teams evaluated the full extent of the deception. This calculated distance sent shockwaves through their immediate circle. Bunnie XO was suddenly left attempting to manage an unraveling situation with zero input from the other side. The sudden disappearance of Dylan from key events and daily routines created an undeniable void that no amount of public spin could cover up. The quiet exit marked the formal end of their partnership and set off a chain reaction that would soon expose far deeper connections, reaching directly into the past and pulling country superstar Jelly Roll into the epicenter of a massive, unavoidable confrontation. With Dylan Wolf's abrupt exit, the focus shifted from a localized breakup to a far more complex historical web. The sudden breakdown forced a granular examination of the history surrounding Bunnie XO, bringing her high-profile marriage to country music superstar Jelly Roll directly into the crosshairs of the investigation. What initially seemed like an isolated conflict between two individuals quickly expanded into a multi-layered timeline investigation, one that threatens to rewrite the accepted history of everyone involved. At the core of this expanding fallout is a critical, unresolved question. How far back do these hidden overlaps actually extend? Archived records, flight logs, event appearances, and time-stamped digital footprints from recent years reveal a startling pattern of concurrent engagements. As analysts and investigators cross-reference dates, an unsettling reality emerges. The official timeline presented to the public, and more importantly to Jelly Roll himself, contains massive, unexplained gaps during key windows of time when Dylan Wolf and Bunnie XO were actively crossing paths. For Jelly Roll, whose public image is built entirely on absolute authenticity, raw honesty, and unyielding loyalty, these emerging chronological discrepancies hit at the absolute core of his personal foundation. Throughout his career and rise to stardom, Jelly Roll has consistently championed transparency, openly sharing his past struggles and personal life with complete vulnerability. However, documented schedules show specific periods where Bunnie XO's whereabouts and professional arrangements overlapped directly with Dylan Wolf's calendar under the guise of casual networking and business collaborations. The hard data now suggests that critical details regarding the true nature, frequency, and depth of those interactions were intentionally omitted or downplayed. The implications of these concealed overlaps are profound. The evidence points to a sophisticated level of compartmentalization, where separate relationships were managed concurrently without full disclosure to the primary partners involved. As the verified dates from Dylan's private timeline are laid side by side with Jelly Roll's touring schedule, the conflicts become undeniable. Critical windows where Jelly Roll was on the road performing correspond precisely with documented, private meetings between Bunnie XO and Dylan Wolf, meetings that went entirely unmentioned in public records at the time. This realization transforms the entire dynamic from a simple personal dispute into a calculated breach of trust that impacts multiple households. The documentation indicates that Jelly Roll was left entirely in the dark regarding the extent of these interactions, operating under the assumption of absolute fidelity, while key historical facts were being actively suppressed behind the scenes. The narrative that had been carefully constructed to project unity and stability began to crumble as the conflicting dates continued to surface one after another. As these historical overlaps gain exposure, the pressure on Bunnie XO has reached an all-time high. Unlike previous minor controversies that could be brushed aside with quick charisma or humorous deflections, these documented timeline discrepancies offer zero room for easy excuses. The existence of verified records connecting specific dates, locations, and the ultimate paternity test revelation creates an inescapable paper trail. Every past interview, every shared story, and every public statement regarding their relationship history is now being reevaluated through the lens of these newly exposed facts. Rather than addressing the specific dates and location logs head-on, the response from Bunnie XO's inner circle has been characterized by absolute stonewalling. Strategic radio silence has been deployed in an attempt to let the news cycle pass, but the sheer weight of the hard documentation makes total avoidance impossible. The overlapping records have effectively backed all parties into a corner, forcing a direct reckoning with a past that was carefully hidden, and setting the stage for an explosive, unavoidable public collapse. As the weight of these documented timeline discrepancies became undeniable, the immediate fallout shifted into a high-stakes standoff behind the scenes. The unraveling of this web didn't just destabilize personal relationships. It threatened the massive business enterprises and multi-million-dollar brand ecosystems built around Jelly Roll and Bunnie XO. In the modern entertainment industry, personal authenticity is direct currency, and a revelation of this magnitude represents a catastrophic breach of that core asset. For Bunnie XO, the crisis management strategy was immediate, deliberate, and absolute operational shutdown. Rather than issuing a defensive press release, recording a multi-part explanation, or attempting to spin the narrative through media leaks, she opted for total radio silence. This wasn't a passive retreat, but a calculated legal and public relations defense mechanism. Addressing specific dates, location logs, or the paternity test results directly would open the floodgates to legal scrutiny and potential contractual liabilities tied to their shared brand ventures. By refusing to confirm, deny, or even acknowledge the existence of the timeline overlaps, her team sought to starve the story of direct confirmation. However, in the face of hard, documented evidence, silence carries its own heavy verdict. Within the industry, Bunnie's refusal to issue a flat denial was widely interpreted as an implicit admission that the records could not be disproved. The absolute absence of a counter-narrative left the facts standing entirely uncontradicted. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere turned toxic. Sources close to the situation describe an environment of intense damage control, with legal advisors and talent managers working around the clock to compartmentalize the fallout and protect Jelly Roll's ongoing commercial commitments. For Jelly Roll, the personal and professional stakes could not possibly be higher. His entire career trajectory, from independent artist to arena headlining country powerhouse, has been constructed on a foundation of radical honesty and vulnerability. His fan base, deeply loyal and emotionally invested, views him as an emblem of truth and redemption. The revelation that key historical facts were allegedly withheld from him by his own inner circle places his brand in an extremely precarious position. The narrative of the devoted, united power couple that had been central to their public identity was completely shattered in a matter of days. The ripple effects quickly extended beyond personal relationships into major corporate partnerships. Brands, record labels, and venue promoters began quietly monitoring the situation, acutely aware of how quickly personal scandals of this scale can erode market value. When a core brand pillar, trust, is compromised, sponsors become hesitant, tour insurance metrics shift, and long-term endorsement deals face reevaluation. The pressure on Jelly Roll to take a definitive public stance reached an absolute breaking point, forcing him to navigate an impossible choice between marital loyalty and protecting the career he spent decades building from the ground up. Meanwhile, Dylan Wolf's cold, calculated withdrawal remained steadfast. By refusing to engage in back-and-forth public mudslinging and letting the hard documentation speak for itself, Dylan maintained complete control over his narrative. His silence stood in stark contrast to the chaotic damage control occurring on the other side. By securing independent legal counsel and cutting off all personal contact, he ensured that his position remained legally sound and protected from retaliatory PR attacks. He was no longer a participant in the relationship dynamic. He was a silent observer to the structural collapse his secret DNA test had set in motion. The situation has now reached a critical threshold where passive avoidance is no longer a viable long-term strategy. The convergence of verified DNA results, unaccounted for timeline gaps, and the involvement of a major music superstar has elevated this from a standard relationship split into an industry-altering precedent. The hidden truths have been fully brought to light, leaving no room for narrative manipulation and forcing a permanent restructuring of the lives, brands, and legacies involved. Before we wrap up today's breakdown, it is critically important to address the exact intent behind this video. The information, timeline comparisons, and claims discussed throughout this episode have been presented strictly for entertainment, commentary, and media analysis purposes. This content is in no way intended to serve as a personal attack, a definitive judgment, or an invasion into the private personal lives of Dylan Wolf, Bunnie XO, Jelly Roll, or anyone associated with this situation. We do not claim to possess absolute personal facts, nor are we attempting to act as an authority on these individuals' private affairs behind closed doors. Our primary goal is to examine high-profile public media stories, analyze widely discussed digital timelines, and open up an engaging, respectful dialogue with you, the audience. Public figures often find their shared narratives stepping into the spotlight, and analyzing how these stories unfold in the media landscape is what brings us all together here as a community. Now, we genuinely want to hear your perspective on how this situation was handled from a purely objective standpoint. What are your thoughts on the impact of open public transparency versus maintaining strict personal privacy when dealing with massive media scrutiny? Do you believe public figures should address unconfirmed claims directly, or is strategic silence the smartest move in modern media management? Drop your thoughts, insights, and polite opinions in the comments section below. We read through them and love seeing your different viewpoints. If you enjoyed this analytical breakdown and want to stay updated on the latest commentary, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.